Before we begin, I want you to imagine something, the version of yourself you know you can become, but haven't met yet. That version is waiting on the other side of a single decision, the decision to take your dreams seriously. Dreams whisper to us, they inspire us, they energize us, but without action, they fade. And if you've ever felt stuck, distracted, or unsure of your next step, stay with me until the end. Because today, we're not just talking about dreams, we're talking about how to turn them into a reality you can feel, touch, and live. Keep watching. 1. Dreams give life direction. Dreams give life a sense of direction because they anchor us to something larger than our current circumstances. Jim Rohn often said that dreams are like magnets. They pull us toward a better version of ourselves. This idea is profound when you really sit with it. Most people move through life reacting to circumstances, drifting from one situation to another without any deliberate intention guiding their steps. But when you hold a clear dream in your mind, even if that dream is still imperfect or evolving, it creates a natural orientation. Suddenly, decisions are no longer random. Choices become easier because they're filtered through a vision of what you want your life to become. A dream does not need to be flawless or detailed from the start. Many people delay dreaming big because they believe everything has to be mapped out in advance. But the truth is that clarity comes after movement, not before it. A dream can begin as a spark, a simple desire for a better life, a healthier body, a more meaningful career, a deeper relationship, or a stronger sense of purpose. Once that spark exists, it becomes a guiding star. You may not know every step, but you know the direction. And direction is infinitely more valuable than speed because moving fast means nothing if you're headed the wrong way. Dreams also serve a psychological purpose. They fuel hope, and hope is one of the strongest human motivators. When you wake up with something to pursue, something that stretches your imagination and elevates your spirit, your energy shifts. Challenges feel less intimidating because you're not just working through obstacles, you're working towards something meaningful. Even mundane tasks take on new significance. What once felt like a chore now becomes a contribution to a larger mission. This transformation is subtle but powerful. When your dream becomes emotionally charged, your mind begins to reorganize itself around achieving it. Another reason dreams give direction is because they create internal alignment. When your dream is clear, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to synchronize around it. You stop scattering energy on distractions or things that don't matter. Jim Rohn emphasized that without a dream, you drift. Drifting happens when you let life happen to you instead of shaping it. But once a dream is formed, even loosely, you begin to steer your life with intention. You shift from being a passenger to being the captain of your ship. Additionally, dreams influence the people you attract. A person with a dream carries a certain energy, one of purpose, focus, and forward movement. This naturally pulls like-minded people into your orbit. You begin to notice opportunities, relationships, and ideas that you may have overlooked before. It's not magic, it's awareness. A dream sharpens your perception, heightens your sensitivity to possibilities, and expands your belief in what's achievable. At the deepest level, dreams remind us why we are alive. Humans need vision just as much as they need food or rest. Without vision, life becomes routine and colorless. But when you are driven by a dream, no matter how humble or grand, it breathes vitality into your days. You start seeing the future as something you can shape rather than something you must endure. And that sense of agency is the foundation of a meaningful existence. Your dream doesn't need to be perfect. It simply needs to be compelling enough to ignite movement. Even a single step taken with purpose is infinitely more powerful than 100 steps taken without direction. Jim Rohn taught that when you live with a dream in your heart, life becomes not only more productive, but more beautiful, because the dream gives you both a destination and a reason to grow into the person capable of reaching it. 2. Converting dreams into plans. Dreaming is the beginning, but without structure, even the most inspiring dream remains floating in the realm of imagination. Jim Rohn taught that while dreaming is the spark, planning is the architecture. The dream provides the why, but the plan provides the how. One gives you emotional fire, the other gives you practical structure. Together, they transform an idea into a reality you can begin building piece by piece. The first step in converting a dream into a plan is to write it down. Writing forces clarity. It makes your dream tangible and pulls it out of the abstract world of thoughts and feelings. When a dream is written down, it becomes a goal, something you can revisit, revise, and refine. Jim Rohn often said that the simple act of writing is a massive step toward discipline. A written goal becomes a contract with yourself, a commitment that says, "This is what I am moving toward." Once your dream is written, the next step is to break it into parts, achievable, measurable components. These become your milestones. For example, if your dream is to become financially independent, one milestone might involve increasing your income. Another might involve reducing debt. Another might involve developing a skill or starting a second income stream. These smaller goals act like markers on a map. They keep you from feeling overwhelmed by the sheer size of the dream, and they give you checkpoints that confirm you're progressing. After milestones come timelines. A dream without a time frame is endlessly postponable. It has no urgency and therefore no power. Timelines create momentum. They force you to prioritize progress rather than excuses. They turn an open-ended idea into something time-bound and actionable. Even flexible timelines are valuable. They don't have to be rigid or perfect, they just need to exist. Once timelines are established, the plan must break down into daily and weekly actions. Jim Rohn believed that the real transformation happens in the small disciplines practiced consistently. A big dream is built through little behaviors, those simple daily acts that compound over time. If the dream is to get fit, the daily actions include exercising, drinking more water, or eating cleaner. If the dream is to start a business, the daily actions could be studying your niche, improving your product, or making calls to potential clients. Every dream is supported by actions that appear modest but carry tremendous cumulative power. This is where clarity replaces confusion. Many people feel overwhelmed because they focus too much on the dream and too little on the steps. When you break a massive dream into specific tasks, you eliminate ambiguity. You no longer wake up wondering what to do. Instead, you wake up with a list, a roadmap that guides your energy. Planning also requires flexibility and periodic review. A plan is not a rigid structure, it's a living document. As you grow, circumstances change, and new opportunities appear. Your plan needs to adapt. Reviewing your progress weekly or monthly keeps your dream alive and responsive. It helps you learn from setbacks, celebrate wins, and adjust your trajectory without losing sight of the bigger vision. Ultimately, the magic is in the conversion process. Dreams inspire, plans transform. When you combine the emotional power of a dream with the strategic structure of a plan, you create momentum that becomes almost unstoppable. You shift from wishing to building, from hoping to executing. And as Jim Rohn taught, that shift from dreamer to planner is one of the most empowering transitions a person can make. 3. Building action habits. Taking action is the bridge between goals and achievement, but Jim Rohn emphasized that meaningful action is not about sudden bursts of energy, it's about consistent, disciplined habits. Many people think success requires massive effort all at once, but the truth is the opposite. Small actions, repeated daily, accumulate into extraordinary results. This idea forms the foundation of habit building, and it is the reason consistency is more important than intensity. Habits shape identity. When you perform a certain action enough times, you begin to see yourself differently. If you read every day, you see yourself as a learner. If you exercise regularly, you see yourself as a healthy person. If you save money consistently, you see yourself as financially responsible. This identity shift fuels deeper motivation because you are no longer just doing an activity. You are becoming the kind of person who lives that activity naturally. Jim Rohn described discipline as the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and habits are the structure supporting that bridge. Each habit represents a choice repeated until it becomes automatic. But building habits doesn't begin with force. It begins with intention. You decide which actions align with your dream and then commit to performing them consistently. Even small steps become powerful when they are repeated without fail. The reason consistency is so effective is because it creates momentum. At first, the tasks may feel small or even insignificant: writing for 10 minutes, saving a small amount of money, reading a few pages, making a single phone call. But these actions compound. They build confidence. They reduce internal resistance. Over time, they create a rhythm, a personal internal momentum that becomes difficult to break. Another powerful aspect of action habits is that they eliminate decision fatigue. When an action becomes a habit, you no longer have to wrestle with the choice of whether to do it. You simply do it. This releases mental energy that can be used for creativity, problem solving, and bigger goals. Discipline becomes easier because it stops being a negotiation and becomes a normal part of your lifestyle. Jim Rohn also taught the importance of small disciplines practiced every day rather than large efforts practiced occasionally. Extreme action burns out quickly because it relies on emotion. Daily action endures because it relies on structure. Even when motivation fades, as it inevitably does, habits keep you moving. They protect your progress during the low-energy days and compound your results during the high-energy days. Building action habits also requires accountability. Whether through tracking systems, journals, apps, or supportive people, having a way to measure whether you followed through increases your likelihood of success dramatically. What gets measured gets improved. When you can see your streak, your progress, or your pattern of consistency, you feel motivated to maintain it. Another important part of habit building is designing your environment. Your surroundings influence your behaviors far more than willpower alone. If you want to read more, keep a book visible. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your home. If you want to work on a business idea, create a workspace that invites clarity and focus. By shaping your environment, you make good habits easier and bad habits harder. Ultimately, building action habits is about becoming a person who naturally moves toward their dreams. You don't rely solely on inspiration. You rely on structure. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You create momentum through repetition. Over time, these habits transform not only your outcomes, but your character. They shape your discipline, strengthen your mindset, and reinforce your belief in what you can achieve. Jim Rohn taught that the secret to success lies in disciplined consistency. Dreams give you direction, plans give you structure, but habits give you the daily power to turn intention into reality. And once your habits align with your dreams, your life begins to change in ways that feel almost inevitable. 4. Reviewing progress. Reviewing your progress is not simply a task you check off a list. It is the backbone of growth, refinement, and mastery. You cannot improve what you do not measure, and you cannot measure what you are unwilling to face honestly. A weekly review forces you to pause the constant motion of life and look at your actions with clarity instead of emotion. It is a moment where you become both the student and the teacher. evaluating your own choices, behaviors, and results with precision and honesty. Begin by asking yourself, what worked this week? What decisions brought you closer to your goals? Which actions, even if small, created real movement? Celebrate those wins, because acknowledgement reinforces behavior and behavior shapes identity. But just as important is the second question: what didn't work? Where did you fall short? Not as a way to shame yourself, but as a way to diagnose the truth. Failure is feedback. If something repeatedly doesn't work, it's not a reflection of your worth, but a sign that a strategy needs refinement. Maybe the method was flawed, maybe the timing was wrong, maybe the emotions driving you were unbalanced, or maybe the task simply doesn't align with your actual goals anymore. A review allows you to identify distractions, eliminate inefficiencies, and correct your course before small errors grow into major detours. It keeps you from drifting through life on autopilot. Adjustments are the quiet engines of transformation. Tiny shifts made consistently lead to massive change over time. When you review, you learn to detach from immediate frustration and instead embrace long-term focus. This routine also builds self-awareness, a cornerstone of Stoic and modern discipline alike. When you observe your patterns, how you respond to stress, how you react to setbacks, where you procrastinate, what environments fuel or drain your productivity, you gain insight into your inner world. And once you understand yourself, you become far more capable of reshaping your habits, routines, and mental frameworks. Each review sharpens your strategy like a blade being honed through repeated strokes. You develop not only a better plan, but a better mindset. You begin to understand that growth is not linear. It is cyclical, repetitive, and incremental. Weekly reflection ensures you are not just active but effective, not just busy but intentional. Over time, this process compounds because every adjustment brings your dream closer. Even a 1% improvement each week accumulates into remarkable progress over months and years. The truth is simple. Success is rarely about giant leaps. It is built through consistent evaluation and steady refinement. Your dream becomes clearer, your plan becomes stronger, and your belief in yourself becomes deeper. Reviewing your progress is the discipline that transforms wishful thinking into measurable achievement. Without it, you repeat old patterns. With it, you evolve continuously. And that evolution is what brings your long-term vision into reality. 5. Momentum builds confidence. Momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in personal growth. Once you start taking consistent action, no matter how small, something powerful begins to shift. Momentum forms naturally, almost quietly at first, but its effects grow with every repeated effort. Confidence is not something you wait for before you act. It is something you build through action. When you begin moving, even if your steps are tiny or imperfect, you generate proof. Proof to yourself that you can follow through, that you can make progress, that you are capable of change. Every small win becomes a psychological deposit in your bank of self-belief. And as these wins accumulate, they reshape your identity from the inside out. Momentum is not only forward motion, it is emotional reinforcement. It combats doubt, procrastination, and fear because it gives you evidence stronger than your excuses. Even on difficult days, momentum carries you, much like a wave that continues pushing forward long after the initial energy was created. That is why starting is often the hardest part, because momentum does not yet exist. But once it begins, it becomes a self-sustaining engine. Confidence grows not from perfection, but from persistence. The more you do, the more you feel capable of doing. The more consistent you become, the more your brain adapts, shifting from hesitancy toward clarity and certainty. Suddenly, tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Goals that once felt distant begin to look achievable. You stop seeing success as a dramatic future event and begin to experience it as a daily habit. Success becomes less about extraordinary effort and more about ordinary effort repeated without interruption. Momentum also changes your emotional state. You feel more energized, more purposeful, and more aligned with your goals. It becomes easier to make decisions that support your growth because you already see the results stacking in your favor. And the most beautiful aspect of momentum is this: you no longer rely on motivation. Motivation may start the process, but momentum sustains it. It replaces the unpredictability of emotion with the stability of routine. The more you move, the more you want to move. The more you succeed, the more natural success feels. Momentum builds confidence because it transforms possibility into reality. It shifts your dream from an abstract idea into something alive, something unfolding, evolving, and taking shape through your actions. Confidence then becomes not a feeling, but a fact, proven by your own track record. And once you understand this, you stop doubting yourself and start trusting your ability to build the future you envision. Success becomes a habit, a rhythm, a lifestyle, not a lucky moment. Momentum is the silent force behind every great achievement, and once you tap into it, your potential becomes limitless. Dream big, then get to work. Every vision, no matter how bold or impossible it may seem at first, becomes real only through consistent effort and disciplined action. Dreams are the spark, but work is the engine that drives them into reality. Let your ambition inspire you, but let your actions define you. The world doesn't reward intention, it rewards perseverance, resilience, and follow-through. So hold your dream close, protect it, feed it, but most importantly, build it. Brick by brick, step by step, day by day, your future is not found, it is created through the work you choose to do.